Hello, and welcome back to the Geek on My Sleeve channel, where we learn how to human one book at a time. This is Geek Out 120 over Asgard by Dennis Vanderkerken and Dakota Krout. Yeah, what an amazing addition to the Divine Dungeon extended universe and the Artorian archives. And thank you for everybody stopping by. Dennis Vanderkerken himself.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Somber. It sounds familiar.
Yeah, praise the sun. Yeah, this book was a lot of things finally all coming together. And I was trying to figure out before I hopped on the stream, like, is this my favorite Artorian Archives book so far? and it's definitely up there. We get the action, we get the lore, we get to see so much of the universe kind of come together here, as well as the big old boss fight, and all that juicy goodness.
Real
Um,
quick, Dennis Vanderkerken said, I think this is the first book that has World by Dakota Krout on the cover. It pleases. Yeah, so had an
yeah,
interesting conversation with Dakota once upon a time in his Discord channel, which should be in the description if I did the correct things. But he emphasized that collaboration events, there are multiple ways for them to happen. And oftentimes it's not where both authors sit down and go through every nitty gritty section. Um, and you can definitely tell that this is a Dennis Vanderkerken vibe with Dakota Krout influence, kind of like Dennis wrote it and Dakota uh, edited or emphasized select points. So just interesting aspects.
yeah.
And then, yeah,
Yeah.
Carl can actually grow out the beard as well as he's wearing his
I'm
bun up higher.
I'm working on my Artorian beard, and
Oh,
I was having fun giving Pete such a hard time about all the grays I was finding on him,
oh
and
yeah.
I'm slowly getting that Artorian vibe coming through. Hopefully, I get the lovely wisdom that comes with it. But yes, yes, not ready to match Artorian up here just yet, but definitely going for the beard. Um, yes. MC
All right.
says it's a great story arc book end. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh
Um,
man, I think biggest to note, if I'm remembering the ending correctly, because I've been all over the place, was essentially dissecting Barry, and we did get our nod to our game over and how that
yes.
came to be in our completionist chronicles.
And we've said it a million times, I feel, about this series, but that's one of the things that the rereadability of all the different series, kind of seeing how they're interconnected and understanding everything behind it. Um, Now that we're officially current with what is released, though I guess we have another Wolfman Warlock book to get through, and then we're current. Um, I really want to go back through the Completionist Chronicles, knowing what we know now up until this point, because just like so much
I do
has
too, just
happened.
for like inspiration, because we're still technically in the alpha phases of it,
Hmm.
and we know that when Cal comes back online, he's going to change things, and that this is only the current iteration and at the very
Hmm.
beginning of Completionist Chronicles when they're doing the welcome to the new insert location here. I don't know why we're saying new because we've been around for 200 years. So we assume there's a reset and then time dilation um, stuff happening. So we're gonna get
Hmm.
a amalgamation or combination of everything.
Yeah.
Then Dennis
Before,
Vanderkerken.
oh, go ahead.
Can't wait to hear y'all go through what happens in this one. And he's on book 13. Love taking it apart. All right,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yes. Oh, I was just right along those same vibes. I was wondering, we tend to like to go in 20 different directions, but um, now that we're somewhat current with what's out, do we want to do kind of high level play by play before we chase the glitterfoots down different rabbit holes and get too lost in everything? Because
Or I
we
don't think we have any Clearfoots. I think we're more. What is Blanket? He's a sugar glider.
yeah. Well, yeah, we like to go down the rabbit hole. So, um, sugar glider before we scurry up a tree and get lost in the branches. Yeah. 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 Great point, MC. Most of Eternium's world got blown up in this book.
True,
Somber
true. Testing
explosions.
pylons and yeah.
I really enjoy getting to see the man behind, the mirror or whatnot, the magic, and just understanding how it works with the different pylons. Like we've kind of seen some different iterations up until this point. Like when Artorian made Eternium kind of like take a nap there, was it like a book or two ago? Like they were really kind of at each other's throats.
Yeah.
But now we get to see Eternium kind of come full circle and realize that, there's a lot to love about Artorian and all
Well,
that
I
he's trying
didn't
to
grab
do
that quote.
with his speed run. And they've really started to bond, which that was kind of something I was wondering about as in the earlier books, if they were constantly clashing. How is Artorian really going to be an administrator when he gets to the Completionist Chronicles? And now we've kind of seen them come out on the other side.
Or I
Well,
also don't remember how that plays out because I remember there being an instance a couple of books ago where Arturian lost his administrator title, or he was not the administrator, but then inside
mhm,
Eternium he is the administrator. But the one
mhm,
quote that you were talking about that I forgot to grab is when Eternium is essentially uh or well after all the pylons blow up and Arturian and um Eternia are talking, and he's pretty much like thinking he's going to get reprimanded, but then he says too oftentimes he's trying to shove everything in the box to keep order, but he needs to let them, express love or express themselves prior to putting
mhm.
them into the box.
Yeah, yeah, and showed a bit of maturity on everyone's part, including Internium, because in that moment, Artorian was expecting a reprimand, and he was like, "Well, I pretty much asked you to play with this," and like pretty much the equivalent of a stress test, right? We need to make sure it's not going to break and not going to fail when um, the actual adventurers players get there, whatever title you want to use. Um,
So Dennis was asking, did this one start with the orbital bombardment, or was that eight? This one begins with, I believe it's the orbital bombardment, where we're attacking the cows, trying to clear up the Bifrost or Bifrost, and then we end up getting nabbed by the Inquisitors, track us down, but then get backstabbed by the demons and
who
Arturian.
backstab each
I
other
I
in the
got
process.
such a chuckle out of the scenario because I'm almost not I'm in autopilot. I'm almost not ever like fully conscious unless I'm like doing something that requires it, where I'm always listening to a book and in the book world or uh, creating 3D diagrams in my mind that I'm taking apart and putting back together. So I'm almost never like fully conscious. So I'd probably fail the whatever wisdom or whatnot check when being thrown or attacked by a Pokeball type thing.
Hmm.
But anyway, so we get captured, and then we get the cool interaction with Tim, aka Eternium, showing up and helping us out, and him developing the oh he can't be possessed. Essentially, he's possession immunity. There we go.
Mm-hmm. And then Never Dash's little puns there with that. Um, before we get too lost, do you want to help take us through kind of like a rough timeline of what all happens in this book for those people who are hanging out and didn't get through it the half dozen times that we did this week.
Oh, I was gonna say
Because we get to see a lot of old friends
I'm gonna have to
come
kind
back.
of remember and work through it. So we do the bombardment for the cows with our ballista. Then we get caught in the core. We go to the moon. We bypass Eternium stuff with Eternium. We start working through our abilities to figure out what we would want. A lot of people come up
And the
with
soul
similar,
forging, which is something we
yeah,
see in the Completionist Chronicles.
yep,
So, like, this is the true first time doing the soul forging, which I thought was
yeah,
cool to
and
see that component.
they express that they're more testing the interactions and testing the pylons versus
Hmm.
um, requiring the materials and the gold and the time that we see iterated in Completionist Chronicles.
Would
And
show.
then while we're still in the core, we get attacked by the demons trying to possess us, and Barry is essentially dissecting the mind of our Inquisitor. Um, and then we get to see the chuckles of Eternium helping out Artorian and his oh, I forget the title. It's like Demon Slayer or Demon Bane or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then we have he essentially breaks himself out. Um, and when he does, he ends up smacking Barry around quite a bit. And then
Yeah.
he purposefully fails the will check against the containment orb because he didn't go through the Bifrost, so he will be squished. So we've got a new
Mm.
iteration of you can go to a different plane, but if you don't go the correct way, after 2 minutes you'll be squished. Or Demon Bane. Okay.
Yeah. Um, and while he was quote unquote imprisoned for that month, it was really touching to see how while he was in the forum connection with Neverdash, how everyone kind of like rallied to his aid there when things happened, and getting to see Ember slash Dawn slash the other different names that she has, how she kind of switched between personas, going into,
I really like
goddess of
that
war. Yeah, yeah.
for a name being the embodiment of your beliefs or your personality, and then to be able to re-roll or reincarnate, so to speak,
Mhm,
into a new one.
mhm, yeah. And then that month where he got to bond with Tim, aka Eternium, and just kind of go through all that, get our little cathedral music going on. But anyway, that not to go backwards, going forward, you're talking about how he trolled Barry, and we kind of get to see a lot of what we were worried about, which is Barry and his meddling and everything, and with the demons. Finally, kind of like getting some closure on that arc in this book. Um, and all the while at this point, we were worried about Artorian and him having kind of like a crack in his seed core, right?
Yeah, after turning that, he couldn't beat that other demon he was going up against, and he had to turn him into the sword,
Mm-hmm.
which put a lot of strain on his soul and his connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, keep going. You were on a roll there.
So yeah, we pop out, we smack Barry around, we pop back into another core. Barry is upset, ends up eating his main staff that can create more caption or Pokeballs, caption devices.
We did get a Team Rocket reference in this
We
book,
did.
which I got a
That's
good
where you can
chuckle.
tell this is more Dennis than Dakota, because Dennis has a bunch of amazing uh, nerdy references, where Dakota is more so on the causal connections of the universe and the pungent, where he's very punny. We get a
We
couple
we
here,
we
but
did get
yeah,
a good amount of puns in this book too,
yeah,
um, especially around the cheese chapter, from what I remember.
yep.
But yeah, it's always nice when you can get a true LOL for your
Or I
audiobook.
guess also while we are captured, he pops out into his Merlin body, and that's when we get
Yes.
the Ice Queen. Oh, I forget the verbiage. I don't want to say slave because that's not right.
Yuki?
Yeah. What is she to Artorian? She's chosen. There we go.
Uh,
Yuki is the chosen and ends up keeping Merlin safe, so to speak.
mhm.
Okay, so then we're in the core and we get picked up. I can't remember what style bird it is, but I remember it had like a white neck. It is another
Thank
demon.
you, Dennis. Yuki,
Yeah,
Snow Lady,
chosen.
chosen. Yep. Yep. Um, yep.
Yeah, so
Uh,
then we get picked up by the demon, and while we're talking to Tim and he tries to figure it all out, we know that she's probably going to defect. And that's another quote that I didn't grab, but was beautifully executed by Dennis. It's about, oh, Sonny was the first one to leave his market. And if you've ever been a merchant, there are three strategies: there's being first, being the best, or cheating. And those who cheat
mhm.
typically have their comeuppance or some other verbiage.
I was
Um,
about to say, like, so many people just want a dog on, listening or reading, these fantasy, lit RPG, whatever books. And it's like, you sit here and you stop, and here we are learning, like business practices and philosophy, computer programming technical
I
terms,
was
and
going to
just,
say
like
that's
all
another thing I
this
enjoy.
other good stuff. I forget what it was, but as much as we just enjoy going and escaping to other realities, you can't help but learn um, about all
Yeah.
these different concepts with these quality authors just sneaking that stuff in there. It's like, gosh dang it, here I wanted to just escape reality, and I'm learning things. Gosh darn it. um but anyway, continue. You're on a roll there.
Or so we get the whole market quote that I need to go back and grab. Um, and then she ends up joining us. We get her to bubble and pop out. She has like 2 weeks time out in the real, which isn't real, which is Cal Soul Space. Seems like she's eager. And then
Hmm.
she pops back, and Sunny's basically like, or Arturian's basically like, hey, so are you going to join me or go off in your own way? And she thinks that it's a trap, and it probably
Hmm.
was a test at least. Ends up going with him. We meet up with Sunny, or Sonny, who is our other demon, and he's actually been defending the location and doing very well.
I
We
I
kind of
just
get
love that
a
scene. Like, I think there was like a
Rambo type
Rambo
moment.
scene.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But then how here he was, contemplating betraying him early on, and now he's viewed as like, oh, one
knowledgeable
of,
about
yeah, yeah,
Arturian, and
kind of
just
like a
the
prophet
interplay
or
of him having
messiah.
to uh,
Yeah,
choke over. Oh, well, I had to learn about you because everybody kept asking me about you because I was the last
yeah,
one to interact
yeah.
with you, and he like chokes trying to say I did good, and then of course the other demon's like, oh yeah, he had to do something nice, and then she chokes, and uh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
So we drop her off there. We pick up our ballista so that we can kill something so that we can get our next specialization. We end up
Mhm.
killing a cow. Get our specialization, go through the Bifrost to the next area. Trying to remember order of operations
I was about to say it kind of jumps around for me, but
or was that
have
the
we
Wood
already
Elf?
covered him taking that 150-year subjective hiatus? Because I
He
felt
didn't
like
do
he
that
got
yet because
okay.
he did. I think we oh yeah, we jump across. We do the oh, it's very weird. It's his whole Dune reference arc, which I thought you would love and enjoy, where he gets there and there's a fight going on and he doesn't know who's what. He ends up inspecting some things. Some of them have like Death Stalker or something, and he assumes it's a negative thing, and they're fighting off against goblins. He ends up
Mm-hmm.
going killing a bunch of the Doom Stalkers. He gets a little help from someone saying, "Look behind you," and he ends up getting them. And then he's like, "Oh, they can pop out of the ground." We get him, yeah, because he's got the funky arrows that continue to make noise if they're embedded and not dead, kind of like a anti-fame death thing. And then I'm pretty sure we do the whole oh, or we meet back up with Decorum,
Yes,
which
I
that is gonna mess with me,
mm,
Dennis, because we have Decorum, who was his essentially Liger, but it's not a Liger in the real world, who he brought back, who ended up becoming a noble and a gentleman, who then got the name Gomez, which is Dale's moon elf or night elf instructor from the other world, which we also have a problem with in this iteration in Cal Soul Space because Brianna didn't want to sleep and Gomez has created problems for Artorian, and then he gets a new name and it's like Gentleman Adam or something. But the thing that's going to mess with me is his name is Gomez, or one of his iterations is Gomez, and he's dating Brianna's daughter, but Brianna's right hand man is Gomez. So that's probably going to mess with me in names.
here you go. Dennis says decorum liger. Gomez is the humanization. Adams family reference.
Put him
Oh,
the Adams family because she's a vampire.
Gomi is the elf. Gomez is the family. Hmm. There's a G and G joke coming later.
Okay.
The suspense, the suspense.
So it's
So
similar but not the same.
we we had kind of this issue with Brianna early on, couple books back, who she didn't want to take her nap, and so there was kind of some tension there. And now it seems like Brianna's been trying to make up for it,
Or yeah,
and
she is trying to show that she doesn't have, poor or malicious intent. And
right,
we got to see
right,
her previous book. She's in the depths, and she's the orca or shape shifting
hmm
individual.
helping out,
Yeah.
Artorian, aka Sunny, with everything. But like, I'm really interested to see where things go because at the point you were talking about, our Liger Cub Decorum is pretty much in love with Brianna's daughter, Tisha.
Yeah.
Um, and she is a vampire now turned daywalker thanks to Sunny.
Or what is
So
Daywalker from? I at
I,
first
I
I
think
was
it's just a
like,
reference for vampires being able to be out in the sun, right? Because
okay.
we get exposed to vampires.
Because
Um,
there's a bunch of different references. Because I thought Walking Dead had daywalkers where they're like more active at night, and then I thought Seraph of the End in anime has Daywalkers, and then apparently Blade has Daywalker. Anyway, so
Yeah.
vampire able to. Okay, so Blade.
Dennis says Tisha is correct. Daywalker is a reference to the Blade movie with Wesley Snipes. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm a sucker for all the lore and the backstory. Like, one of the first series I really got into was Dragonlance, and I remember getting so far to the point where like we got to the second generation type thing. So that gets me really excited to see some of our favorite characters who we've then, watched them develop. Gosh, like if you include all of them at this point, like we're in the teens book wise, and they're quote kids and chosen, like Decorum and Tisha. It'll be really fun to see how that continues to progress in the family tree up until the Completionist Chronicle series, and just how that's all interconnected and related in the background. Let's see here. Some more comments from chat. We really appreciate you guys. Was Tisha a moth or a butterfly or something? Dennis said MC Tisha is modeled after Mothman. Black moth with red eyes. I have images on the Discord. Yes, please. Yes, please. Dennis says she will likely have a bat option form eventually too.
I like that, and that's
I
where
like
I
that.
see things developing and doing more with. They all go for the humanization for select things, but
I haven't thought about it yet. And maybe this would be a fun chat for or question for the comments below, and I'll think a bit about it. But if you had to pick an animal, kind of how like they all have animals that they go to, and then they have their humanization form. Have you thought about what animal you would be?
mm, I'd probably go something monkey oriented, but that's only because talking to people IRL, the Chinese has what is it? The Chinese calendar, you get an
Oh, are you the year
orientation,
of the
and
monkey?
then I'm the year of the monkey, and then the other
Okay.
thing would be centaur from the astral, or Sagittarius with the
Like half human,
words.
half horse?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Uh what is that called? Zodiac. There we go. Or that would be like first things that come to mind
Mm,
because like monkey, I do or
okay.
did enjoy climbing quite a bit, and then for
That is true.
zodiac symbols,
That
but
is true.
yeah.
Plus just your dexterity and everything when you're helping out with mechanical stuff.
Yeah,
You're able to do all that. I could see the monkey. I could see the
and
monkey.
then also, I secretly have been putting book idea togethers, and combo attacks are a thing. So the idea of
Okay.
like having a gnome or having someone ride me as a centaur, and then to do some funky like in another book we just listened to, there's a giraffe that has monkeys on his neck, and he
Oh,
like catapults them.
yeah.
So more of a
Yeah.
like shooting arrows, having someone shooting arrows off my back, and then to fling them as a mini projectile. And then, of course, they're a mage or something. So, like Lightfall or something
Oh,
else. Anyway,
yes. Yes.
yeah, there's a lot of potential there. Um, Oh, we go across and we get essentially our Dune reference arc because we have
Oh,
worms that generate the spice,
and the
and a lot of the
spice.
quotes
I
were
was
Dune
cheesing
references.
so hard right at home. I'm trying to get Peter to come back so we can
I
finish
caught
the
a lot
Dune
of them,
series.
and I
Like,
appreciate it, but I knew some of them would you would appreciate more because you've been further
yes,
through it.
we need to get that Geek Out scheduled. God
Yep.
Emperor of
Yep.
Dune is where we're at, and that's probably my favorite of the Dune series so far. But yes, I loved all the Dune magic and the sands and the spice and all the other fun little references there. Um, yeah,
Or
yeah.
did that sound come through or not? So I don't
No, it
remember
did
if I
not.
had. Okay. Cool.
You need to go a couple more layers of Inception there.
Or it wasn't supposed to, and I forgot I had it
Oh,
on. But anyway, and that's where things get weird because like he defeats a lot of them initially, and then I forget who he's looking for, and he pretty much like walks into a tavern and gives us more of his younger form vibes, more of his
mm,
when he was conscripted, and we learned through his tribulations. He's acting kind of like his younger self, where he goes and they're like, "Oh, identification," and it was like blatantly obvious. He was like, "Oh, yep, sure, I'll go to jail. Yeah, no
yeah,
problem." Walks up, and then he's like, "Oh, well, this looks like it'd fall down," and then zips off and
yep.
almost gets attacked by the cats, and all the cats pun. And then
Hmm.
he's like, "Oh, sweet, I found some ne'er do wells. This will be quick." Defeats
Yeah.
all them, and yeah, overhears the plot for getting stuff out of Asgard and starts working on the plot, getting stuff into Asgard.
We're we're
Um,
we're past the point where he has the confrontation with Odin. What do you think about
oh, or
those
wait, no,
moves?
yeah. So I'm trying to remember the order of events because when he initially gets nabbed, they tell everybody to, hey, you need to speed up the timeline. We need to get going because we've got our original party, Dale, Hans, Rose, um, the merchant lady, who may or
Mina,
may not have been can't say that,
Minya.
Minya. Yes. And then we have Minya, and then we have Tom. Yeah. So all of them are working on stuff. Brianna's working on stuff. And then I think it's after, or well, anyway, somewhere he
So,
takes a nap.
yeah, I was about to say. I think that was earlier on, about a quarter of the way through. He gets his nap where he goes out for about 150 years, and things are able to progress. But before I forget, couple things that I'd love to see slash questions for Dennis and or Dakota would be, will we ever get to see um the main crew, like Hans, Dale, all those guys in their section of the timeline here? Because we get like little snapshots of them where we get to see them through Artorian's
I
point of view, but I
I
would
think
love
he
to see
said
their adventuring. Um, and
that they would
then,
be referenced, but not integral or not
okay.
like incorporated because oh, each of them kind of want to write their own, and it leaves it open. That way they can do more with it.
Mm,
Um,
the
I
other
think
thing,
it's going to be necessary for some causal connections coming up here, but continue.
yeah. Um, oh, here we go. Dennis says, yes, Dale hands Richard 10 to 12 whole chapters. You even get to see them in full action.
Okay. Or I think that was supposed to be
Yes,
Hans.
Hans.
Dale,
Yeah.
Hans, Richard. Or wait, Father Richard, who died but didn't die. I mean, if we
Mm,
brought Adam back and if they
right.
go away, they get transported to their lair.
And he was higher. Like, I think he was A rank. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, okay, and then the Gnomes and Wisp Wars. We're at number 3 at this point. Like, I would love just to see and learn more about the Gnome Wisp Wars, because that just seems all too fun. And yes, yes, please. Let's see here. MC, isn't Sunny trying to get a party body for Adam for the
Yeah, yep.
OG group from the last book?
Yeah, he was trying to, he recognized him and he was trying to get him into Eternium, and that's where he ran into the problem that he needs a vessel similar to what Artorian himself has. But the problem is Cal is asleep, so we don't have a body. In this book, when Adam comes to be, it's due to essentially being summoned as a celestial, but since he's already in Cal's soul space, he's able to do it differently. I believe it's power that he has to be channeled and memories. So yeah, when he gives the memory back to Dawn, he's able to sustain him based off of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's trying to give him a body to go back, and that's I'm excited.
Yeah. So, a couple other quick comments and then back onto the timeline before we get too lost. I really appreciated how like Artorian utilized the quest to his followers to kind of help progress
Yeah.
things. And just
While he's sitting in his indestructible temple, he tells
yes.
people to get here and that they can transport there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
all of his abilities coming commonplace, which at first he's like, oh no, but then it helps him with his specialization because all of his family members start giving him proper combo or combination things.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't think that he knows he can relearn the original abilities. We get that interplay with
They talk about
Deverash.
it.
Well, because the way Arturian is acting, he's acting as if it's
That's
gone,
true.
he loses it. And then the way Deverash and Tim were acting, it's like, wait a minute, doesn't he know he can just do it? And I thought it was all theatrics. So I'm of the mind it's something that people talked about so much, it seems commonplace, but because he's not at that level or going through it with them.
I guess that's true. And we even get to see that a bit where as readers, we know a lot more about like dungeon mechanics and how they work than Artorian actually does. And we get to see that with the conversation with Eternium when he has the revelation that Eternium was granite.
Oh man,
Where
that right there. So I, yeah, there is so much potential and
do you think
backstory
there's a
lore stuff.
connection there
Well, he was
with
literally under constant attack from Xenocide,
uh-huh.
and he sacrificed himself to Arturian's father to give him more power to do stuff because he was planning to use it for a select reason. Had the interaction with um, Merlin at the time and then did the other stuff. The big thing I want to take away from that is it happened with Cal. When Cal, after Cal was split, book 5 in Divine Dungeon, we had Cal and Dale. Cal more or less perishes and then transforms or goes to Dale. And then that's where we get the whole, meat suits are imperfective or imperfect storage devices. And that whole interplay happens. But now where we're currently at, we had the whole uh, stuff happen in the world and giant lines of lights that were obliterating individuals. And Cal didn't absorb back into Dale. So we know he's not gone. My assumption is we're getting the Elon Musk interplay from the beginning of Completionist Chronicles, where he's out in the real and he keeps trying to send out his influence, where Elon keeps calling it the wrong name and he keeps calling it a core to him. And then we haven't gotten to the point yet due to time dilation where he's actually like, finally, you've connected me to the computer and he can interact, and it's kind of musky here.
MC, so he doesn't get the feedback other than Wisp and Deverash, who are limited in what they are supposed to tell him. Yeah. Pretty much he's only supposed to get the information that he would through notifications, right? But everybody tries to work their way around that, and we get to see those rules bent in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, keep going. I think in the timeline we're about halfway through the book.
We end up after we take out the cats and get some spice from our ne'er-do-wells, overhear the conversation about getting stuff out of Asgard. We go to the tavern, break a couple pincers or scorpion claws with our arm wrestling tournament. And then yet again, just like the conversation when the skunk rolls up, it's like, oh, well, I was hoping you were looking for a job, but you look like you're swimming in money or spice or whatever. And he's like, what's a job? Sounds good. Let's go.
I'm in. Right.
Yeah. And just like, yeah, the whole interplay there. And that was another thing that was beautifully executed where I forget who he's talking to. It's later during the invasion where Odin isn't acting like himself with all of his crafting, and then we do get a conclusion of it was Barry who was controlling him to do the crafting and utilizes DE points.
Yeah. We appreciate the help, Dennis. Dennis says, trying to remember chronologically, Escape from the Moon, Parlay, Yorn, Small Kingdom, Nap, Odin and his beard, The Way, Soul Forging, Wood Elves, which like we really need to stop and chat about the Wood Elves, Gear Set, Cheese, and all our glorious puns, Meteors, Muspelheim, and then continued.
Okay. Yeah. So we get to, or go ahead and read this.
Yeah, MC said those were fun chapters with Shawnee Town and the skunk. I agree. But keep going, Pete.
So Escape from the Moon, Parlay, Yorn, the Small Kingdom. Okay, yeah. So we're about to get to the Nap sector because he does the job. Sure, he breaks a bunch of pincers with his arm wrestling, takes a job, transforms into the long. We get the 5-minute adventure. Just kidding. It's not really a 5-minute adventure. It's a pun. Or not a pun. It's, yeah, an interesting dialogue there.
Yeah.
We end up getting
mean another.
The items and storing them in our spatial ring, which they don't have. And that was directly related to what we find out in Completionist Chronicles, because storage devices aren't commonplace anymore because nobles or others kept smuggling in drugs. So that's why they're not as common and they're banned, which, that's basically what we're doing right now. Then we disappear, but not really, because we get zapped by the Valkyries, who are the Amazonians, because that's the ones hanging out with Odin. We end up going back, destroying the town, and now that essentially the next big demon place is taken care of, then we go for our nap, which we end up talking to Deverash about different abilities. Take our nap in our indestructible light thing. As soon as we wake up, we run into Odin, essentially saying like, "Hey, you've dishonored me. I need to deal with all of this." And yeah, he gets turned into a child, but not really because Deverash has fixed some of the pylon work. We also, I believe, wake up without our wisps, which is interesting, and it's because Deverash through the so sidestep. This is one thing that I really enjoy too, where it doesn't bog you down with the coding knowledge, but it integrates it and makes it unique because the whole idea of the bugs eating the pylon in coding speak is bugs in a program for the interactions and the I got a kick out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um I also enjoyed the Dewey reference. For those who don't know, there's a meme that's going around where I believe it's VR chat. There's a bunch of knuckles, like mini knuckles, that keep asking, "Do you know the way?" And
Mm-hmm.
it was comical. I don't know if the narrator quite delivered it as I envisioned it, but I got what you meant by it and enjoyed the meme reference. And then we get to our soul forging madness. Um,
Yes.
and then while we meet the Wood Elves, we're asking about another soul forging combination. We get to see that any who have enough memory of an individual can bring them back, which is similar, or we kind of already knew about due to Oberon, where Oberon is Dungeon Eternium's Wisp. In a previous iteration, he brings back the dwarven or Grandmama, the dwarven exploding slipper persona. So we kind of got a
Yeah.
hint at it prior. Until now, we get to see the Wood Elves essentially separate and do their own things here. I'm sure I missed a couple of the references between the cow, who's supposed to be Mr. Worldwide, and essentially the
Oh,
DJ.
yeah, it was I think it was Pitbull. He's a musician.
Okay.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I felt like it was like directly a reference to something, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I think he does the Timber song. But anyway, we don't
Wanted to
do
be
music. We
Mr.
do,
Worldwide. I probably need to rotate through just as a palate cleanser,
yeah.
and because, or speaking of which, I did grab that quote. Let me know if this works, or let me. What is my speed at? My speed's at 3. Let me bump this down to like 1.5. Clips, bookmarks. That in this guy.
You know much of music's heart. I was not aware you studied. The old man chuckled, sitting cross-legged on the glass floor. A long trek across the mountains with eager minds, and more eager to show off at that. A small decade with a class of bards accomplished something, even if I never had a scrap of their talent. Though it's my own fault for barely practicing. I did always say there was no such thing as talent, only hard work. I'm not sure how much I want to hold on to that definition.
So no such thing as talent. There's only hard work, and yeah, I would have to say I agree with not necessarily holding on to it all the way because there's causal connections. Or for example, if you're good at first person shooters and you play a different first person shooter, you're still going to be good, but you just need a little practice versus a lot of practice. So I can
Hmm.
understand both sides of that. But the reason I need to get into music is a conversation they had before that, where Eternium starts playing his music, and then Artorian is essentially describing it and how it makes you want to conform to it, and it's so empowering that you either go with it or you get pushed aside.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. There you go. MC's got us covered with our cow musician. Pitbull is Latin slash Floridian D-Day / rapper.
Okay. And then the one above that for the Knuckles meme reference.
Yeah, thank you,
Or
White
do you
Badge.
know the way?
Yeah, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Updates map.
Yep.
It was something we were wondering about several books ago about the Wood Elves, and it's nice to see that the Wood Elves kind of came back in. Go ahead.
I love the extrapolation based off of the Divine Dungeon interplay, where in the Divine Dungeon, we didn't really know the Wood Elves, but we got to see them try to enter the portal, and if the tree didn't fit, they didn't take the tree. They just went back, and we had in Artorian archives, we now know that how it works and how all of oak is stored inside an oak tree, and it's kind of like a shared consciousness bit, so it makes sense. But then also seeing the interplays where they all went into the ones that could fit through the portals, but they returned the trees to try to preserve the world. And we also got to see the different plants in this world, where those were the ones that were given to Cal, and Cal entered them into his soul space, which helped a lot with the oxygen and everything. Yeah, that guy.
Dennis said Eternium's music is Castus Metallicin from Warhammer 40k Mechanicoo.
I definitely need some good instrumental music to put on in the background for when I can do, like, I'm doing stuff that I can't multitask for listening to books as well. Just kind of get in the zone.
True.
Okay, so we have the Wood Elves, which also brought up the interesting future event that could happen for legs as racers, which I can't wait to see. And then, sorry, looking back here, Wood Elves gear set. So we end up, essentially standing there as they do their shtick and give them the gear. But then we have, Spider Lady. Can't think of her name. The Chosen of Spider, who is the teleporting.
Yeah, brain fart.
It'll come to me. Anyway, so we have her give us the gear. We open up our artifacting thing, and then Zilia, thank you, Zilia, and then Artorian essentially lets her do the artifacting, which he gains a short range teleport, which I am thoroughly excited about. Costs nothing except for a cooldown. We end up going to check out the next realm with all the cheese, and they essentially pay tribute to their ancestors, which is the cow, which made them. And he does not have very high. He has very poor
negative in the millions.
Yeah, then I got a chuckle out of. That's what we count our coins in, because everybody's negative. That's how everything operates. And then the meteors, because we tried to use Danny's ability or mastery, and we got a kick out of Oberon basically being like, I've never seen something so messed up. How do you get a word into a spot that's only designed to have numbers? And it's very common working with different people on projects where they know what they want, but they don't know how to execute it themselves. So getting the thought into a form factor that can be expressed in the proper format.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I enjoyed the commentary there where it's like all of the pylons stood up, gave a trumpet or a salute, and all exploded at the same time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, yep. And then Tim pops in, is like, hey, survive, and we'll talk after. He does survive, and then we get the, hey, what would you really like as a new thing? And we get the Devarash interplay. And we get the, mass driver specialization arc.
Right.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
What did you I guess like I forget how they said it, pretty much not like enjoy, but
Or what did
dislike
you
the
hate the
least.
least? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But we do get to see towards the end he does start to actually enjoy the game, enjoy his journey a little bit more, not just on its mission to take down Barry. Um,
Yeah. For MC, it does what I need it to do when it's needed. How hard is that from Danny's getting the words in the um,
mhm,
ability box?
mhm. Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm. I'm drawing a blank on the El Cazoro.
Oh, that's when he meets up with his son, right? We covered that part because he was told to seek out um yeah, El Cazoro.
Oh, okay, okay. And then we meet
Yeah.
the Brianna's daughter, who we turn into a daywalker.
Mhm. Yeah. And then we talked
More
about the
Odin.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dragon evolution, where each of his age brackets has different things that can go into it.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, yeah. And then as we're trying to do the job, we get Barry is escaping, so we've got to kind of rush everything. And yeah, yeah, I truly enjoyed the whole Barry scene and development. Um, for multiple reasons. Sidestep Eternium when he was Grant and interacted with Artorian, who was Merlin. It makes me feel like Xenocide had a big impact in that somehow, because even if he didn't destroy or utilize Eternium as a harvesting component, he still had an influence. And yeah,
Mhm.
interesting. But then to see when we do get down to the nitty gritty with Barry, and we're essentially going through his memories, and we get to see that his cat, um, Mittens, was destroyed, and that was kind of the catalyst for how Xenocide was able to do everything. But the playing the long game of this was the first iteration of how Cal Soul Space or the game was to come to be. And essentially, the
Mhm.
way it was written inside his eye was kind of like coded for you will do this, you will do this, you will do this. These are the parameters that you operate by. Um, yeah, yeah, Xenocide doing stuff. And then we also know that Xenocide essentially made Barry, and Barry was the one who started or almost took over the world 3 times. Or not Barry, sorry, the Master, who almost took over the world 3 times. So he's definitely got his hands in several places. And the fact that
The
every
master, or
time,
you mean Xenocide?
or
Because the
Xenocide
master was
influenced Barry as well as Xenocide influenced the Master.
I
We
follow.
assume
Yes, yes.
Xenocide pulled out his corruption when he damaged the Master's sense of self as an S ranker. which he thought he was going to die from, but he has since had time to recuperate inside Cal's soul space just to get in a fight with Barry, who uses a similar ploy and or attack during their interplay or their breakout there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we get Barry breaking out, and he ends up getting to his gazebo. I believe it's no. Gazebo doesn't sound right.
No, I think
Anyways,
you're right.
Space that he can go back to Cal from Eternium, and he's essentially in his anythingium or iridium or whatever metal body, and he ends up going up against Dawn, who goes by a new name, and the Master, who goes by Occultatum or Tatum now.
Right.
And yeah, essentially that's when we learned that Barry has been using Odin as a deity power source in creating weapons, and essentially he just keeps throwing different weapons at him. Artorian comes out as well after finding his pagoda. I think that's what I meant. Gazebo, pagoda. Fancy device to get back into Cal Soul space, and that's when he summons Adam, and Adam gives him a couple of his quotes back at him that I might have.
Yeah.
Or well, I guess this is a Wood Elf quote. That's another good one.
The wording of that struck Artorian as odd. I thought you were just friends. A vengeful poke in the kidney stopped him from saying anything further. Then Rosewood gained a sharp glint in her eyes. Just like you and Dawn are still just friends. Artorian defended himself. We are, very good ones. A party travels at the speed of their slowest member, and I'm certainly not going to rush Dawn into anything, nor step on a piece of land where she finds no comfort. Small Torian.
So, essentially saying we're as slow as our slowest member, and that's true in a lot of aspects of life, and there are different ways to help them or move them along.
It's fun watching Dawn's and Artorian's relationship progress.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see as it continues to develop there.
How's the volume on that playback?
It was good on my end.
Okay. Sorry. So, getting to Adam's quote that I have, where he essentially throws a lot of Arturian's quotes back at him. Here we go.
Realize it. All life is suffering. Pain is universal. Loss and grief unavoidable. There are many who turn blind eyes, many more who turn inward, and many more still who seek to shelter themselves from that truth. Adam cocked his head, glancing toward the moon at a particularly large beam of fire currently chasing around a mauve dot. A demon told you that you would make a great demon. That statement unsettled you because you could not refute that it could be true. Artorian looked up at the tall celestial, but Adam didn't feel imposing at all. He kept silent for more, and Adam spoke. It is the beauty of life that it can choose where and how to grow. Choices are everything, even for people who find their calling on the road they took to avoid it. You have made many choices that have scarred your heart, many more that lay as weights on your mind, even a few that have cut your soul. Artorian balled up his hands and squeezed them, but didn't interrupt as the celestial continued. Yet you move with your heart. You couldn't stand the thought of not being here to help, even if no help could be provided. You may have caused great harm and caused many an unwitting consequence, yet you could never be a demon. Only on the surface, where minds judge what they see, could you be subject to such an identification. Adam eased down to a knee, lowering himself to eye level. You could be called a demon because you have had the strength to act where it is needed, even if those needs caused suffering, pain, and anguish. Yet in that vein, it could just as easily be said that you would make a wonderful celestial, for your heart calls out with care and kindness. Your hands reach and wish to comfort, even to the spiders you so feared. Your memories are filled to the brim with your love for others, your actions that saw to their well-being, and your schemes to bring them warmth and joy without them ever being the wiser. He reached to ask for Artorian's small hand, and when provided, clasped the fingers around both of his armored palms. A demon is not a demon because it acts with the intent to do great harm of all facets. A demon is a demon because it cannot be redeemed, because the creature has no desire to make choices that would do otherwise. While it is a powerful leap to live one's life making choices in order not to build more regrets, there come times in life where there are no good choices and you will be forced to choose anyway. It is in these conditions that your memories shine, for from these conditions you have made choices that lay the foundation to be seen by the law of love. Adam smiled. As someone who values truth, the well-being of all, and enjoys the sight of choices made that lead to betterment, I am blessed to meet a mortal that espoused these virtues and pursued them, even at great cost to himself. So once again, Artorian, my name is Adam, and it is my honor to be here. It is my pleasure to help, and it is the calling of the warmth in my heart to keep yours safe. None from the abyss shall breach your world tree, neither the saplings in your mind.
Yeah, it goes on, but it's very powerful and, great life lesson for things happen, situations are unavoidable, and intent matters. Like how you react in certain situations can be viewed in a certain light, but it can also be viewed in a different light. And at the end of the day, staying true to yourself, or, kind of like Artorian normally says, make the decision that you can sleep with. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was.
Oh, it's a great section and a great quote. And I've referred to a similar style quote just multiple times in life where so many people are talk about like avoiding pain or not wanting to go through pain, et cetera, et cetera. And I forget like the exact quote, but pretty much what I always come back to is like, life is full of pain. It's just choosing what kind of pain you want to deal with or you're willing to put up with, and picking your struggle. So yeah, glad we got to see Adam come back.
Yep, truly enjoyed that as well. I want to say that's my last quote that excuse me, that I had together.
So time to talk more about the epic boss fight and then dive into some other things.
Oh yeah, so
Mr. Combat.
the end combat was good. So it had the tactical advantages where we sent the goose, who is Tatum's chosen, to deal with the other S ranker, which they use a different name in the demon realm. It was great to see how Dawn, who is not Dawn anymore, and the master Aqua Tatum worked together to defeat Barry. It was good to see the laws of the world, but not really the laws of the world, taking effect for Cal, essentially saying that part of his if you're brought into Eternium, or if you're brought into a soul space, you have to abide by select rules. Barry didn't really know them, so the fact that he was opposing the Master and Dawn, who are protected by them, is my understanding of why he was leaking like a sieve. Yeah, so a lot of great combat there. We didn't get a conclusion on Arturian's tribulation that he had to go through, that he needed to talk to Dawn about. And I'm not 100% on what it could be. I assume it is the thing that I thought he already got past when we first meet Dawn, where no.
Oh, I mean, he went through it. You're talking about the realization that Dawn was the one that pretty much
Destroyed
eliminated.
his fleet,
Yeah.
or whatever that he was with.
And up until now, we've gone through it in real time with Artorian, but we didn't in this book. We just alluded that
We'll go
Artorian's
back
gone
through it and
through
live
it.
through it when we share it with Dawn.
Yeah, he's at A6 now. But he doesn't want to do A7 until he has time to meet up with Dawn and process it.
To come to terms with it and learn from it.
Which I think will be interesting to go through, because Artorian, to some degree, has already kind of come to peace with it.
Or
He
yeah, because
had
they're
to.
kind of a thing, but not really a thing.
Yeah.
As well
Yeah.
as his tribulation entity or liminal entity has been adopted by Dawn.
Mhm.
But we're missing out on a lot of Dawn's development because she's had several name iteration changes since. And then kind
Mhm.
of same thing with our Wisp. She's accepted a name change and
Mhm.
is, you know, not, or she was a human, but is possibly getting involved with Wisp because she's wisping around. Yeah. So anyway, Barry the Devourer is leaking like a sieve. Does his summon a bunch of demons where if they died, they get stored in Cal space. So now he can pull them from there. And he's
Mhm.
hoping that's his trump card. We get to see Arturian pull out his spirit bomb, but not really, and essentially have mass damage across a bunch of different stuff. Taking care of the majority of those. We get to see, Adam uh, give him the sword, and the sword take the form of, I believe it's compassion. So he has the one that he soul transformed for the previous demon, who is like void of compassion. I can't remember the name of it.
I think it was Sorrow.
Or yeah, sorrow, and
Does that
then we
sound
have
right? Because
compassion.
I think MC was talking about it
Uh,
earlier. But yeah, it was definitely a very, very powerful scene that we got there. Um, but yeah.
or yeah, we get Dawn and Akatanum don't know really what to do against Barry because they're being countered, and Barry has all the legendary weapons. We
Right.
get to see that all the stuff that we did inside Eternium have like a perfect ability, perfect conversion. So that's pretty snazzy out in the real or Cal Soul space.
Hmm.
Then we give Dawn the memory of her embodying a weapon, and we
Hmm.
use our combo move to turn Dawn into a meat cleaver because the master was initially a butcher, and that turns out to be his weapon of choice.
I
We
I need
then,
to see if that novella is in audio format. The one where we get to go back and experience the master's origin story.
what?
Uh,
I feel like we've said this a couple times. I always forget
we
about that.
we we have, but if it's not in audio format, it doesn't exist for us.
That's true.
But
I have
yeah,
ways around it. It's just not as sexy.
this is true. This is true. Um, but yeah, carry on, carry on.
So we
Epic,
get
epic boss battle where we
Dawn
get to see
into
everybody come back. Go ahead.
a blade of the butcher, and then we end up with oh Arturian. I can't remember what exactly he does, but he ends up taunting Barry, and then we have a trap where Arturian taunts Barry and then goes into Eternium. And then Barry's like, well, forget this. He's not winning. He doesn't think he can win. So he's trying to grab Eternium to use, similar to how Arturian was using what is now known as Zilia, the teleportation um, core, but it's trapped and he ends up getting sucked into Eternium, where we get to see our onslaught of our original crew plus some to try and
Mhm.
stall him. We all know that he's after Arturian. Um, Several things are breaking, but yeah, we get to see part of the original crew with Dale, Hans, Rose, Minya, Tom, and Brianna, all kind of trying to hold him off, as well as some of the people we met in Eternium. We end
and their clever workarounds to get through his what is it? He doesn't take physical damage or something like that. So they have to damage him with different types of damage. And so they'll like use, quote, basic boring damage just to distract him or to block the attacks. For the other stuff to get through.
And then we have our aha moment where Artorian has the title administrator, and he learns that he can remove titles.
Right.
So then he removes all of Barry's titles, and Barry essentially loses a lot of his win conditions or his immunities. And then he, essentially is going for Artorian. Artorian ends up, getting him trapped in another core, so to speak.
Right.
And that's when Barry does his whole takeover thing, because there's a lot of people inside there. I think all of the people are inside there as well. And then Arturian uses his sleep thing he gets from the, I think it's the ferrets, golden ferret thing, where they're having like nightmares, and he essentially gets his, like, Dreamweaver ability.
Yeah, I remember that part.
Them attacking Arturian because he's in the middle of it, and they're all about to attack him.
There were some very touching moments there. Where he pretty much Barry kind of like mind controlled them all, right, and tried to get them to attack his divine, and Artorian kind of just being in that weird spot, like
can't hurt them because they're friends.
And
then a lot of them resisting it because it's their divine.
And on a high level, it's touching as it is, but then when you think about how they really are embodiments of their laws and aren't supposed to go against those, you kind of get put in lose-lose situations, right? Like, he's the embodiment of love. And what does that mean? But yeah. So, were you satisfied with the combat there at the end? Our big epic boss fight plus the minor skirmishes throughout?
I enjoyed a lot of the lore development. The combat was intriguing in the sense of the pylons, where Danny's, does what it says it needs to do. Could have been cool, but didn't work out. But then a lot of people having similar thoughts and ideas, and it turned out like Zillia's anything ended up working and becoming different weapons, and so similar causal connections, as well as his. I enjoyed the manipulation of losing his mass driver or whatever, and being able to chain command them into different stuff. Like, his skill set's developing. I can't wait for the aha moment when he realizes he can learn his other ones and get his repertoire back. The final fight with Barry was insightful. The fact that Xenocide was the one who essentially kicked it off and got things going with Barry and how Barry happened. The fact that he separates him out into, I believe, 4 different distinct entities, and we get to see what Game Over originated from. As well as, I don't believe we've seen the other items, where we have the Pot of Greed, and I think it was like stored in a ring or something from someone. And then we have the fork, which I'm curious to see where the fork shows up in the Completionist Chronicles. Or what all did we have? We had the fork, we had Endgame, we had the Pot of Greed, and then we had the cat. So I'm curious to see like where the cat shows up.
I want to go back and look for Mittens now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, because like we know Xenocide had an impact for Granite with Artorian's origin, and that's one thing that I've been hesitant about for if Artorian is actually part of a stage of chaos or influenced by chaos because he had that interaction with Granite so early, and how Xenocide knows, oh, being in the right place at the right time is hard because we got to see that interplay or interaction with Barry the Devourer.
Right.
And then the fact that Barry's way that he imprinted the information inside his like left eye or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of fun. I'm curious if it is published when we can anticipate the next one. Because I know that you've told me and Dennis has mentioned it. He's working on 13, but 10 through 12
Well, I think
are
10
caught
we're
in
still waiting
different.
on cover or art stuff.
Yeah. Sony's sacrifice or MC says Sony's sacrifice was sad. I liked when Artorian thought the Tonfas as bolas. Yeah. The final battle was very moving. Yeah.
Or the skeleton.
Yes,
His
that's
sacrifice
that
as
too.
well.
Yeah. A lot of people came through to help Artorian level the playing field with his fight with Barry.
Yeah, it's definitely was a group effort, as well as, I guess, sidestep. We got to see a couple of the other Celestials for the time guy for smoothing out the time stuff. And that, oh man, there's a lot of potential, and it was done well for the fact that Arturian explains it, and he was like, I forget what he said, but yeah. And then they say, oh, well, you're not wrong, and he gave enough good information that we can't dispute it, but this, that, and the other. And yeah, so we know that all dungeon cores have scapegoats if they create minions that can house them, and it's kind of like a reset. And we got to see that happen at the end of the Divine Dungeon, where Cal gets sucked back into Dale. And then, yeah, they deliberately express like they don't know how Cal is not, exploded or insert other epic, horrible stuff happening by existing in two timelines.
Yeah. Gosh, so much epic, awesome stuff happened in this book. I feel like we probably didn't catch it all. What else did you want to cover in this stream, Pete?
So, riddle me this.
Okay.
Brianna is essentially a shape-shifting aquatic or water life, and she has all of those people. In Completionist Chronicles, I believe it's 2 or 3, there is a moment where a bunch of giant sea monsters come and start attacking the humans, and that's when they all flee to Cal's soul space. Did they get, because everything that happens in Eternium is considered a perfect ability for cultivation if they didn't need the essence of the world that Cal absorbed, and that shape-shifting molding ability was how they could, humanize into other forms. If Brianna is trying to get back in his good graces, ends up going out and terrorizing the local humans, and then is doing recon for the end of book 4, I want to say, or maybe it's book 3, where Dale ends up talking to, the law in the tower, Acme, and getting the premonition of how Cal is going to destroy the world, and there are several opportunities for him to save the world. And we get that there will be, essentially a day of darkness, blah, 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 save them, and then they'll have their original thing. So are all the giant sea monsters actually people who have done the opposite of humanization, doing reconnaissance work for coming back into the world?
That would be one heck of a twist.
Because initially I was thinking it was similar to Eternium, because when Eternium is out in the world and we get to meet him in 5, and we're trying to find the origin of Wisp, he's using the Wisp lore. And also, monsters and creatures are all of the big locations that Cal was using his runes for to absorb the magic, all had giant creatures at them because it was their natural essence density. I thought it was because all the magic was being pulled that way. That's why they were around him. And then once he's moved, the essence is no longer pulled that way. And somehow these giant monsters were surviving off the ambient essence, much like how Artorian, when he starts to cultivate, pulls down and can't absorb it all and gets all the plant growth and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But due to the humanization, what if it is a reconnaissance? Explosions.
Right. That certainly would be interesting. MC says some say that the sea life got stronger because Cal got moved from the ley lines. I think they're from Cal space, which could also have, like you were saying, some of the recon, the scouting people, right?
Yeah, mixed in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dennis wants to hear more about what we thought of the end fight.
I thought it was good because Barry was still able to cultivate, so he was technically double S, but violated the terms of the contract, so he was being hindered. He was trying to pull out his Captain Planet moves with our powers combined, bringing all his demons in.
Right.
But we knew about him, and we planned for the Quackening or the Mega Goose to take on the other S rankers, who is also a double S, as well as Arturian bringing out his Spirit Bomb / light lines to obliterate a lot of the demons.
That was kind of a big twist for me when Barry broke out all the other demons, because it was kind of like, what's going on here? Why is he undermining his own, attack, right? And then all of a sudden they kind of start hinting at it, that the demons start talking about, it's part of his plan for killing them off and everything. And then all of a sudden, when we think we got him, he's like, oh, by the way, bada boom, bringing all these guys in. Party time.
Or you like the super speed? I'm trying to remember. Is that the clashing between all the S rankers, where they're slipping between different realms, so to speak? I did. It gave me very Dragon Ball vibes.
Yes.
For the combat. As well as, carrying on a conversation. like he's fine using his telekinesis for communication, and then just being like, oh, well, I gotta go.
Yep. It was nice seeing everybody too, because like everybody kind of came together for that last final boss fight, which was fun.
Yeah, we had the revolutions with Adam. We had our skeleton who used to be a king who was trying to pay him back. We had all of our Eternium people to slow him down. We had our day sleep magic for seeing how Xenocide impacted him.
Yeah. And we had even our buddies working on trying to keep the pylons and everything up and going.
Chaos,
right?
discord, and entropy.
Yeah, everybody was in on the action. So yeah, lots of fun, and well played for sure. And it wasn't a quick boss fight too, which is something I'm sure you appreciate.
It was definitely multi-staged, and it took all of us to be successful.
That was a clutch scene. Very true. MC, the mole guy's descendant, helped out when the mind control, and Barry was telling them to shoot, and they had like all their bows drawn, but they didn't move on it. And Barry called on the mole guy, which I think was last book or the book before, where he's pretty much like, my granddad or grandpappy told me that sometimes not doing something is impactful, or just as important of when to do something.
Yeah. I guess that's true. We got a lot of great revolutions between Adam telling him, life is suffering, and you gotta you might be put in situations where none of the decisions are good, but you need to make a decision. And then the mole guy for not making a decision can be just as, or knowing when to make a decision can be just as impactful.
Yeah. Amazing book.
And then, oh man, the combo move with Dawn and the Master, I truly enjoyed.
Oh yeah.
And then, the fact that everything that happens in Eternium is actually like a perfect move.
Dennis
was
Ask
the final kill, or
Dennis Ask, was the final kill satisfactory after all this super speed?
I will say yes, because this book, the previous book, we turned the demon into the sword, and we learned about the soul forging. Then we got to hang out with Adam, and we got our sword, which is, the embodiment of what the soul is for, I can't remember the name. We just said them. Anyway, so we had that, which that's a thing. And then to essentially break down break down Barry into multiple things, it leads it to epic potential, where we already saw Game Over in Completionist Chronicles, but this is definitely a kind of backwards Dragon Ball thing, where in Dragon Ball you have to collect the Dragon Balls to assemble them to get to talk to Shenron to get a wish. Well, I could very easily see it being twisted in some deity's quest line, or people to assemble all the items, or just accidental causal connection for our main guy Joe in Completionist Chronicles has Endgame or Game Over's blood, has a new pot, which I missed the name of, might be the Pot of Greed. As far as the fork goes, we haven't seen the fork, but we are also talking to the cats, of which are the Neanderthals, which embody the separation that we got from Eternium. So I wasn't 100% if that is the race of Neanderthals where other people saw Mittens and then wanted to be like him because of what he embodied. So like as far as like
Interesting.
causal connections and continuations of it, it is not considered the final death. As we know, those apparently don't exist. It has a lot of interplay and advances for the Completionist Chronicles storyline. It has potential for Shenron-esque with our Captain Planet type moment that turns out to be a Pandora's box. And it just added to the storyline of Xenocide, where it was his start. And as we know, S rankers live forever. So it has been going on for a while, but we already knew that due to the master when he was a child, all of a sudden got knowledge and was very good at things. Yeah, it was satisfactory in the potential to come.
Yeah. Yes. Give everybody a little bit of time to pop up any more questions that they may have. Approaching the 2-hour mark, and I love the fact that our Artorian archive streams run on the longer side, where we're able to interact with other super fans of the series.
Yes. Dennis Vanderkerken.
Go ahead.
How do you feel about Xenocide stopping in the middle of the memory and looking at Artorian? What does madness care for time? I feel, yes, that was good. There's another instance that he does that. I can't remember when, but I remember it being like a deja vu, and or he could see him. Or no, sorry. It was with Cal when Cal was going through his mind or madness thing, and all of a sudden he could hear Xenocide and interact with them. That's probably what I'm thinking of. But yeah, Xenocide is, yeah, he definitely saw him and could see him through the memories and everything. Okay. So Keir Nolson, Xenocide's son, had the showdown. And we know that the initial ploy and or plot for Xenocide, aka Madness, was to use the core as well as detonating everything beneath and have the moon come down and create more chaos, explosion, and then to get into the core, ascend from the triple rank or S3 to Heavenly, which our assumption as of now is that is a node in the tower, but we assume Keir Nolson stopped that from happening. With that being said, he also, S rankers can go between spaces, and Cal's soul space is a space. So we got to see our liminal energy, I can't remember her name, ask other nodes to come into Cal when Love started directly interacting with Cal's soul space when she knocked out Eternium and started playing the instrument. So we know that other nodes can possibly come in. We don't know if Xenocide made it, but S rankers can go between, and so
Yeah. Dennis says, in Butcher Boy, Xenocide asks himself if now is the time he was doing this. Implanting the master with the eye seed like he did with Barry. And then MC says, I'm sure Xenocide left behind a bunch of Horcruxes. Yeah.
I can't remember the definition of that, but yeah, I know he's got a lot of influence everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, my only
We
thing
need to go back
is
and
with
do that novella.
I need to do the novella, but I remember at the end of the Divine Dungeon, or I guess it was book 4 technically, when Xenocide is attacking the master and he ends up damaging his soul. I thought that was Xenocide collecting or harnessing the implant that he used in the master, and it's essentially a cultivation technique where you give it to them, you tell them they have to do something, they end up doing it, it creates a sense of madness, and then you harvest it or farm it back. Yeah. Which
best fight in AA9.
I mean,
the
best
boss
fight
was
would have
epic.
been the berry fight with just the multiple boss stages and everything.
Everybody coming together for it.
Yeah, everybody coming together for it. Just yeah.
Because it was more than just, some epic combat, right? It was also the emotional struggle and challenge for Artorian. Kind of pulling at the heartstrings. Like here, he literally had his followers working on this for hundreds of years, getting ready for it, trying to help him out. And there was a period where I kind of wondered if it was going to go that way. Was Artorian going to have to slay his own followers to get them out of pain? Were they going to get away? Because it was like one save after another, and then finally we had our Master of the Sands or whatnot get them and take them to the hideout, allowing them to kind of break free. Best piece of lore we acquired from Dennis Vanderkerken. There was a lot of good.
I was going to say there was a lot of good lore. I would have to say it was the coup de grace for Barry, where we divide his
the end game and the pot of greed,
his essences into different stuff, and like I'm going to be coming through Completionist Chronicles, seeing where they're at, as well as I need to check out more of all of our Xenocide moments that we end up with.
Aside from that, I really enjoyed seeing the interaction between Artorian and Tim, where
that was another good one with Xenocide attacking him and how they had met before through Granite.
As
so
well
that kind
as
of
just
ties back into the Xenocide bit.
Yeah, as well as just seeing kind of the game mechanics kind of progress, seeing the Soul Forge in the early stages, seeing the kind of how they dealt with getting the second heart, because I think we had some questions with the Completionist Chronicles about
That
how
was beautiful, where Artorian ends up getting one of his long form upgrades, which gives him a second heart. And then when he goes from Eternium back into Cal's soul space and he gets his heart freaking ripped out. And then
yeah,
it's like, just kidding, I have a second one. And Barry gloating, being like, ah ha ha, ah ha 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 ha. And Artorian being like, wait a minute, what? I got a second one?
right,
Oh man, the back and
right.
forth between like, oh no, oh yeah, wait a minute.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that oh man. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man, gave me like Mortal Kombat finisher vibes for finish him into oh yeah, is good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Dennis asks thoughts on special effects of the gear / equipment set from Zelia.
I'm trying to
S-
remember all of them, but I truly enjoyed the short teleport because I felt like that was something that needed to be incorporated.
mhm.
um, as well as the anti-gravity or gravity doesn't matter thing. I felt like that was very Arturian. He kind of already has an ability where, like, if he wants ground to be ground, it's ground thing because he got an upgraded factor.
Mhm.
Um, Trying to remember some of the other things that were with it. I definitely thought he got set up for success with it, and I enjoyed the fact that he was able to allow other people to affect his artifacting. Um,
Mhm.
I think it had a snazzy name with it, something love.
It's funny seeing how like the chosen how the relationships has kind of switched around. He used to be more of exclusively the doting grandpa, and now it seems like they're all kind of mothering him in their own way,
Well, not
calling him a
just
brat
that,
and
but
holding
literally
him accountable.
Arturian takes all of his enemies and turns them into, supporters, where like Dawn literally obliterated and destroyed an arc of his life, and now
Mhm.
is a staple for his sanity and structure and everything else. And then same thing with Zilia, like she saw him as the hand and pretty much took control of him and was using him as, fast travel in the real. And
Mhm.
she didn't like that. And then she turns out to, be working through it and to figure it all out. And then we get Yuki, who loves stories and essentially,
Yes.
had a tragic event of the kid dying. But then we get, Dawn giving her liminal energy, can't remember the kid's name, to Yuki, and her blossoming and developing. And then, yeah,
Mhm.
just it, all this chosen, except for we didn't get to see a lot of Voltekken. I'm a dragon, or I'm a dinosaur.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to see a little bit of Punjin for the Wood Elves for why they're located where they are.
Mhm. Yeah.
I wish I remembered more of the direct stats and effects off of the armor, but I do remember enjoying it in the short teleport and the gravity not being real or not affecting him.
What is real?
Yeah.
What is time and all that good stuff? So,
Oh yeah, and Orca, Halcyon. He was still sleeping throughout this book. He was available for protecting the Arturian archives in the sun, but
mhm.
he was still sleeping off. I can't remember the interplay there because I remember they thought initially that Chosen didn't need to sleep, but it turns out they do. It's just on a different time scale. So yeah,
Mhm.
Halcyon was still asleep.
Naps are great. Naps are great. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, as always, our fellow geeks, it has been a pleasure these are the highlights of our week, and we really appreciate you guys coming to hang out and geek out with us on some of our favorite stories. We are officially current with Artorian archives, so we won't be able to keep up with doing our once a month, waiting for the rest of the universe to get it together and get us more of that epic goodness. But there are a number of other Mountaindale Press books that we're interested in, so maybe we'll keep with the theme, and rotate
Yeah,
in a
there's
Mountaindale
a
Press
couple.
book once a month, just to keep up. Carry on, Pete. What were you saying?
Real quick, Dennis was bringing in some of the name stuff. I forgot about the don't make any sounds, and I'm pretty sure Zillia's armor saved his bacon in like several instances, because when we were going up against Odin and he figured out that Odin had the air affinity, and he ends up getting away because he's holding his breath, and
Yes.
because Zillia's armor didn't do it. And then with his someone else's problem field with Barry, and then using Zillia's teleport really saved his bacon there as well. Yeah, the armor definitely set him up for success.
I mean, you need some epic gear to go into some epic boss fights, right?
Oh yeah. It was explained by Deverash that, it's expected to be tackled by a group, and they also have gear. But then he took his nap and brought everything else together.
Speaking of naps, yeah. Dennis says the only active ability were the feathers edge arrows.
I thought, oh yeah, that's true. So he had the silence that helped him escape Odin. They had the can't play dead or anti-death thing for the Dune arc for taking out the stalkers. And then I thought the verbiage after being artifacted was that the teleport could be activated and didn't cost anything, but just had a cooldown. Not sure if you like the fight in the desert. I truly enjoyed the fight in the desert. It's a different flavor of fight for me, where it was more group tactics. I did enjoy it, but for that one, I was mostly chuckling over all the great Dune references. But yeah, being able to go in there and fight the different enemies and just unload, as well as you can't feign death, and finding the ones that are the sand pillars. And then when he ended up like taking his nap and they're almost overrun and he's about to jump back in, but then he's like, maybe I'm better just sitting here with his resplendence field and everything else on. So it was more so tactical than it was, I guess I'm gonna fireball him, which we also got.
And it was nice to get
I enjoyed
different types of combat scenes, right?
Yeah.
So many stories, it's the same thing over and over and over again with just different enemies, right? Definitely not the case with the Artorian archives. Like almost every fight is different in its own way, right?
Yeah, he got new abilities, he got new armor sets, different win con, different people around.
Yes. Very much so. And on that note, Pete, time to talk about next week.
Yeah. Definitely can't wait for more. as Dennis said, he's on 13 and will continue to make them. We're technically only in the beta stages, alpha stages
Alpha.
of where we're at with the Completionist Chronicles, so there's plenty more to come, as well as Dakota said he's going to at least complete the ritual where each arc or elevation of the world is going to be a different level, which is going to spell ritual, and he's going to be able to say the ritual is complete. So several more books or iterations of that. Yeah, looking forward to 10. Do you have a timeline or a guesstimate of publication? Audible.
Please and thank you. But yeah, while he's working on that.
So next week, Geek Out 21 or 121 is going to be The Perfect Run Book 2. And it's a good addition. It does very well continuing the story. For those who don't know the series, it's very hard to explain. Essentially, think My Hero Academia, where people get one power, but take it into an apocalyptic world because things go boom and powers make people crazy. Combine it with video game logic because our main guy loves video games and his name is Quick Save. So being able to revert back to another save into Skyrim where you can play every storyline. And essentially that's what we do, where we play through different iterations of storyline on top of James Bond for infiltrating different factions and attempting to get the girl at the end. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint, but it's a fun story.
Yeah. And then, as I've said before, the best way to describe the character is basically Deadpool.
Yeah.
But with video game puns and terms. So a lot of fun. Looking forward to coming back to it. And then we kept talking about it. We do have some ideas. Oh, is this what we're doing next?
I haven't made the thumbnail yet. By the way,
Pete made
so I'm
executive
going to
decision.
commit us to the weekend after being Biomancer, which for those of you who know, Biomancer is Shamir Kuznick's new series. Shamir Kuznick does Life Reset, which is another phenomenal lit RPG that I would highly recommend. To be honest, this took a different turn or different twist than I was anticipating based off of the end of Life Reset, but I did thoroughly enjoy it, and I could see more potential for different development for playing in the world or in the space with different storylines. It's so I guess spoiler-free version is Life Reset, aka New Era Online, trapped people in the game, much like Sword Art Online did, due to time dilation and realistic factors. It ended up traumatizing some people. And in this book series, it is a military veteran who was unable to help while a relative was going through this and has found a way to get back into New Era Online, which we know has now been closed due to problems they were having, and try to it's good. I would recommend. I could say that it could be a standalone. You can start here. It is book one, but some of it doesn't make as much sense without going through Life Reset, and you should buy Life Reset anyway.
Yeah. It was nice to come back to the world and play in it. I really enjoyed Biomancer. Glad you made the call to add that into our queue. Lots of fun. Not quite life reset, but for book 1 in the series, I see the potential and hope it goes a couple directions that I'd really enjoy.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
to be determined. I saw that book 2 is
Is
in the
pre-order.
pipeline. Yeah. Yeah. So much fun. Um, yeah, another group of books just because we have more books that we want to talk about than we have sessions in the year to get to. Would love to hear what you guys think about um, working in some light novels. Being anime fans that we are, I've started picking up the Audible versions of some of our favorite animes that are light novel adaptations. And I think those would be a lot of fun to do some geek outs on. Overlord, Sword Art Online, which we're constantly referencing. I'm trying to think the other one I picked up more recently. Shield Hero? Something
Or
Shield Hero?
I have them. I just need to look back. So Rise of the Shield Hero was one.
That's
I think
it.
the other one was Overlord. Yeah, Rise
Yes.
of the Shield
Yes.
Hero, Overlord, and then Leek Chimalenko is teasing us with another new series, uh,
Oh, he's got several
or
now
Paragon of Blood.
collaborations. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's got a couple others that we haven't gotten to yet. Um, but yeah. Keep tossing us those book suggestions. Really appreciate everybody who turned out today. The chat has been amazing. Thank you, thank you. Special shout out to Dennis Vanderkerken, who takes time out of his writing and gaming to chill with us and answer our questions. Greatly appreciate each and every one of you and all of you who catch this and the replay. Love reading your comments after the fact and coming back to it. So yeah.
We might have to, for our next Divine Dungeon Extended Universe, I don't know if it is technically, but you guys have been talking about, year, or MC says Year of the Sword, a lot of Eastern influence so far, but not exactly anime. And then for that, he said it's cultivation. Each book is different fighting slash cultivation system, same main character. So that's interesting. But yeah, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for catching it on the replay. Yeah. Oh, no ETA on 10. Still, or art still in progress. Okay. I We know it's going to happen, and we appreciate the communication. And yeah, you're working on 13, so it's just a matter of time. And we have several others that we need to get to. But yeah, thank you again. Hope to geek out with you guys here soon. Bye.
Bye.